What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm looking at r/TraumatizeThemBack, and I've got 6 great comeback stories which you're gonna love. So without further ado, sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and go on to enjoy this one. Let's get into the first of 6 TraumatizeThemBack stories. Think twice before you judge someone for vaping. This happened earlier today. I was at work, outside on a smoke break. I vape. One of my co-workers came outside and took it upon herself to start lecturing me. You know, vaping kills people, right? There's metal and other chemicals in vapes that are so bad for you. You should quit and look to God for guidance. She just kept going on and on about how badly I should quit. Now, I don't entirely disagree, but I find it rude to just comment on someone else's habits unsolicited like that. So, I responded the best way I knew how. Well, there are a lot worse things I could be doing right now instead of vaping. My mum got me hooked on drugs when I was a young teen, and I've been clean off fentanyl and other hard drugs for about 9 months now. Vaping helps me to do that, so right now it's one day and one thing at a time for me. This is all true, by the way. Her eyes grew so wide and she immediately apologized, saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't know all that." I don't expect people to know, but maybe next time she will think twice before giving unsolicited advice. Okay, wow, there we go. 5 more stories to come in this episode, but firstly, I've got to give my thoughts on this. Look, I get it. She's not wrong, is she? Vaping isn't good for you, and it would be better if nobody in the world did it. And I think OP accepts that fact, right? They're like, I don't actually disagree with her. Yeah, I accept it's bad for me. However, to do that to someone that you don't know, although maybe she does know you because it's one of your co-workers. I don't know. It's a weird one. Obviously, you're not good friends, clearly. And she can't know that much about you. But yeah, to say that to one of your co-workers without knowing what's going on in their life, because clearly she doesn't know, it's very, very poor. But yeah, I'm glad you told her the truth and put her back in her box. Now for our next TraumatizeThemBack post. That was my son. I just recently lost my son to police gunfire. Every day I have what I call murder tourists drive by the house since the media exposed the address. I've had a couple of situations where I'll walk up to a parked car and ask what they needed. They will ask if I know anything about the shooting. I look at them and say, "That was my son." The look is priceless. I'm literally watching the blood drain from their faces. The best instance was when a friend and his wife were over. We are sitting in the carport. 2 Karens in a golf cart drive by, rubbernecking. They circle around and pull up to us. "Can you tell us anything about the shooting?" My friend jumped up like a mama bear. I tried to stop her, but she walked very quickly over to them and scolded them. I couldn't hear everything, but what I did hear, and I'm probably paraphrasing here, was, "We just wanted to know what happened." Well, you don't need to know, do you? I love my friends. Well, that's one of the saddest posts that I've read from this subreddit. Fair play to you for doing so well here. I just want to also mention what OP left in the comments down below. I'll put it up on screen right now. They say, "Also, I will say that I've never seen such an outpouring of love and support from neighbours, some of whom I've never met before. For every murder tourist, there are 3 people opening up their hearts to me. There are good people." Also, I forgot to mention, one woman gave me $60 to help with funeral expenses. She said she wasn't rich, but she understood what I was going through because of personal experience. That's awful. I mean, a truly awful thing to happen to you. I guess that you are traumatizing these people back, but I can't even really talk about that because it's so unimportant compared to what's happened to you. I think the thing that I would say is murder tourism. Like, is that really a thing? You see a shooting on the news, you know the address, you go to that location and you're asking questions to local people. Obviously, there's a decent chance that someone's going to know something and someone's going to know someone that was involved in this if you're asking people that are on the street. It's crazy that this even exists. Murder tourism. Is that a thing? That is disgusting. Anyway, 4 more posts to come. Let's get into the next. Homophobic parents? Be even more homophobic. Hi, for some context, I, a 16-year-old guy, am gay. I'm only out to my group of besties and my brother though. I'm part of a Muslim family. They're wonderful, and I love them with my whole heart and soul, but my mum and stepdad, my mum's 42 and my stepdad is 46, are homophobic. My brother, who's 13, isn't as much, though he does have some slight aversion to the LGBT community. So, we were on a road trip on our way to some auntie's house, and me and my brother were watching Mean Girls on my phone, having a good time. The jokes were funny, and my parents were chatting indistinctively. That is, until a certain joke happens in the movie. I think the joke was about some kids holding a gun, saying they used it to hunt animals and homosexuals. I laughed because, haha, get it? Southern Americans, am I right? But my dad was not having it. In the middle of the road, he turns to see me and my brother and says in a kind of threatening tone, "Did I just hear the word homosexuals?" I said, yeah, and that it was just a joke in the movie. Then he said, "I better not see you watching that weird gay content," with my mum just nodding and saying yes. I was livid, but I quickly came up with a good answer to that. "Oh, don't worry, Dad. The joke is about shooting down gay people, as it should be," I said with a smile on my face. My brother just looked at me with a face that screamed, "Dude, what the F?" My mum looked at me with a similar face, but slightly worried, and my dad just muttered, "Well, don't say that. You must respect others." He just tells me to stop talking and says that we must be good to others and respect them and blah blah blah. Since then, they haven't even muttered a word whenever I mention something LGBT related. The biggest reaction I got was when I got an eye roll from my mum when I pulled out the 1,500 species of animals have homosexual tendencies, only one is homophobic card. I kind of feel like a jerk for that, but I felt really frustrated with the whole homophobia and hypocrisy from other Muslims. I'm proudly Muslim, but I really hate when people say that it's the most peaceful religion and Muslims are so kind and loving, when my very existence is a crime in the eyes of my family and the entire country I live in right now. Anyway, remember to treat others as you'd like them to treat you. Have a wonderful day, and remember to drink water. Well, you know what? Thank you very much, OP, because I'd just forgotten. So what I'm going to do now is take a lovely long sip. Oh, and a cheeky gargle as well. Yeah, very interesting last couple of sentences from you there, saying that you don't like the fact that Muslims are or Islam is the most powerful religion and Muslims are so kind and loving when your sexuality isn't actually accepted by Islam. Interesting point. But yeah, it's a weird one. I don't want to get into the depths of this in terms of your religion versus how you actually like interact with other people and appreciate other people's sexuality, gender, whatever it is. It's a bit of a lose-lose situation, I think, if I go down that road. But you handled yourself well there, I suppose. And hopefully, at one point, you will feel comfortable enough to have that conversation with your parents. But I don't know, it's going to be tough, isn't it? Now, interestingly, the next post comes from that same person. They've posted again. Am I, quote, acting autistic? Well, guess why. Hi there, they say. I recently posted another story in here and you all really liked it, the one I just read, so I thought it would be nice to share another one. This one is not about homophobia though, it's about autism. For some context, I suspect I have autism. I have hyperfixations, I stim quite often, I'm kind of noise sensitive, I have trouble communicating, etc. I'm currently going to a psychiatrist, but it's not to get a diagnosis. My mum doesn't think I'm autistic. And one of my besties, who has autism, also thinks that I'm actually probably autistic. So this story starts with me leaving the prayer room at my school. This prayer room is located right next to some stairs. Luckily, not many people use them, so I don't have to deal with kids often. Not this time though. As I was leaving, a kid, 12 or 13-year-old guy, was going down the stairs and sees me walking out of the prayer room. And I guess he didn't know what that place was for, so he asked me what I was doing there. Not only did my social anxiety kick in, but I also don't really like talking about religion, especially to children, so I wanted to leave the conversation as soon as possible, while also being funny. And I said, "Oh, magic rituals, of course." I chuckled a little, but the kid was pretty serious. He looked at me dead in the eyes and says, "Why are you acting so autistic, bro? Stop that. It's so weird." I was obviously flabbergasted. I assumed that I was acting a little robotic. It happens sometimes, especially when I get socially anxious, which I assume is what he meant by weird. But also, dude, I don't know you. So I did something that kind of gives me mixed feelings. I looked at him with a smile, and this is the conversation that transpired. "Make a wild guess," I said. "What?" Well, you asked why I'm acting so autistic, so make a wild guess as to why. His face goes from, what does that even mean, to, wait, no, to, oh dang, in a couple of seconds. It was priceless. He immediately starts apologizing, and I just tell him to please not talk to me ever again. It turns out he's one of my brother's besties. So my brother comes to talk to me soon after, saying that he didn't mean to insult me. He just uses the word autistic often. I told him it's fine, but I was still pretty offended, and that his friend shouldn't call others autistic with bad connotations. I told my friends about that, and they were all pretty supportive. I didn't tell them about the clever comeback part of the story though. I think I was a bit of a jerk there because he was just a kid, and I insinuated I have autism without having a proper diagnosis, but whatever. I still got some laughs out of it, at least, and the kid's insult was actually kind of affirming in the end. Remember, children, don't tell strangers at school that they're acting autistic. Drink lots of water and have a nice day. Now, I would drink some more water, OP, but I just did, and I don't think the people listening to this want to hear me gargle again. But I will drink some more very, very soon. However, update. There is an update to come here. So, I just left school and I saw my brother and two of his friends. One of them is the kid from before. I'll call him Alex. The other will be Patrick. I was chatting with my brother and Patrick says hi. My brother proceeds to ask me which of them I like most. Here is how the conversation went. It's worth explaining that both my friends and my brothers know about the story above. Except, you know, the clever comeback part. My brother says, Patrick is nice, right? I reply, yeah, I like him better than Alex. Alex then says, what, do you think I care? Oh, sorry, I reply. Am I too autistic for you to care? Immature as frick? Yeah, but his face was priceless. Also, F you. I just left the first batch of my finals. I've got no patience to deal with this BS. Alright, get in the comments down below, guys. What do you think? Is using words like autistic, gay, etc. to insult people, is that funny? Let me know in the comments down below. Very interested to hear your thoughts. I think I probably know the answer, but I want to know your thoughts anyway. And be honest. Alright? Seriously. There's no hiding. This is real life. What the does that even mean? Someone left a funny comment actually that I'm just reading here. One time in high school, some kid spilled yogurt in his lunchbox and his friends were like, that's so autistic. I ignored it because I didn't know them and was too anxious to speak to them. But in my head, I imagined saying, well, I'm autistic and I didn't spill yogurt. Yeah, you're just dumb. Simple as that. All right, 2 more stories to go in this episode. The 5th one is very, very strange, to be honest. And the last one is ultimately pretty sad. Now moving on to our 5th post. He made it weird. I made it weirder. Once upon a forever ago, I lived in a small town and had dated 2 friends from a group at different times. Years apart. Small town etiquette was observed. One night I was hanging out and one of the friends I hadn't had much of a rapport with decides to loudly say across the room, so, you slept with both friend 1 and friend 2. How was it? Who was better? Obviously he's trying to embarrass me, but our flings weren't secret. Again, small town. So he was just being a jerk, trying to stir drama, which again was weird, as only friend 2 was there. Now I'm a few drinks into my night at this point and unbothered, so I replied just as loudly, dude, if you want to know how they are in bed, you should F them yourself. He left me alone after that. I mean, that is a quick, witty response, and it's the perfect thing to say in this situation. I can't say anything more than that. I don't actually think that that's that weird of a comment to say. I mean, like, I've definitely said stupid stuff like that before, so I'm not going to say that your friend's really, really weird. Just a bit of banter. Depends on the way he said it. Like, if he was actually wondering who was better, then that's odd. If he was saying it as a joke and one of the people's in the room just to kind of embarrass them, I think that's pretty funny, personally. But great reply. Really good reply. Put him back in his place. Love it. And now for our final Traumatize Them Back post. You're too old for Superman. For context, me and my grandpa were super close. He was the father I never had, and I was basically his daughter. Whenever my mum thought my dad was getting too rough with me, I would spend days to weeks at a time with my grandparents, and my grandpa was everything to me. I lost him in 2020, and it broke me. So now, 5 years later, me and my mum were going through some of my grandpa's stuff, and we found his old Superman keychain. I wore this keychain on my purse, religiously. One day, while out with friends, this older white woman walked up to me and said, completely unprompted, Mind you, she wasn't even a part of our conversation, nor did I or any of my friends know this lady. You're too old for Superman. I look this woman dead in the eye and say with my best dark humor smile, thanks, but that keychain isn't because I'm into DC. It's because it belonged to my grandpa, who's been dead for 5 years now. I almost unalived myself after losing him, but glad to know your opinion on one of the few things I have left of him. Yeah, all that was true. I've tried unaliving myself more than once, and that was one of the worst years of my life, and losing him was the straw that broke the camel's back. The poor lady looked horrified and scurried off. I make dark jokes and laugh about them all the time, so I was kind of shocked that my friends seemed concerned about me. But I guess getting reminded of my dead grandpa and making a joke about it does turn some heads. Oh, there we go. Bit of a sad story to end this episode, but at least you traumatized her very, very well, and you came out of that as the moral victor. But goodness me, imagine hearing that and just, you're like, oh, I was just trying to say you're not a kid anymore. Yeah, you're not allowed to say that to a randomer you don't know. Like, why is it your business? It's a sort of weird thing. I feel like when people get to that sort of elderly state where they sometimes can just like not care anymore, they lose their sort of inhibitions, which I think is a good thing, because they're like, you know what, I'm old, I'm not going to be around for too long, I'm going to live my life the way I want to live it, I'm going to say what I want to say. I respect that. But then you get to situations like this where it's too far and you are getting too nosy in other people's business, and at that point you need to just like settle down. But yeah, interesting thought. Elderly people just knocking about saying what they want. I'm kind of all for it, but when they step over the line, they need to be shut down, just like this. That was brilliant, as were the previous 5 stories, in my opinion. I think they were all great today. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on all 6. If you want some more Traumatize Them Back content right away, check out this episode here, and I will catch you guys tomorrow for a brand new episode.